Good connection. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Does it sound good to you guys?
Yeah, sounds great.
Are you in Hogwarts? Are you?
Yeah, he's in the room of requirement, it looks like. Oops.
Karen Setter. Do you know Campton Jackson?
I'm really bad with names. That doesn't strike a bell.
He's starting. He's a what denomination? Can't think of it. Episcopal. He's starting a church there in Santa Fe.
Really?
Yes, and he
Tell me
just
his name again.
Campton Jackson.
Okay, I'm going to write that down.
Yeah,
And it's a native church?
he's part native, and he's gearing it that way.
Okay.
You and Doug-
Awesome. I've been praying for that for a long time.
So yeah, I've met him here some time ago. I've been keeping up with him quite a bit. Yeah, so he's got a nice location. They've been meeting with social distance,
Wow.
and they're in your neck of the woods there too.
Is it on Sundays?
I'm not sure. I never listened to the whole thing because they usually start off and they do their songs, and I just keeping up with them a little bit.
Good to know.
Just look under Campton Jackson. I could probably, I forget the name. He's got a kind of neat name for his thing too.
All right, I'm going to start the live stream. All right, we should be live.
Okay, welcome everybody. Good to see your faces again. Getting more and more anxious for COVID to break loose here. I think we're on the verge of hitting green, but after this, what do you call this, spring break time, I think we'll probably have another big spike of all the crazy people going out and having big crowds. And who knows what Texas is doing. And they're too close to New Mexico. I think we got problems ahead of us. So I pray that COVID will just die out and be gone. We pray that every day, and pray for the people who have lost loved ones too. But some of you have heard this prayer. It's a Winnebago prayer, and I think it would be good to have this prayer, a plaque made for our ministry, because a lot of people know it. the Great Spirit prayer. So as I open up, I'm gonna read this. At one time, I thought I memorized it, but as I go through, my memory gets shorter and shorter. So, O Great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the wind, whose breath gives life to all the world, hear me. I am small and weak. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made, and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise that I may understand the things you have taught my people. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and every rock. I seek strength not to be greater than my brother, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes. So when life fades like the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. So this is the image that I read, and it's really kind of a nice image, and we'd like to have something that on our wall down at the Good Medicine Way location. So I might even get my artistic side of me going there and make something. I did make one like that, similar the Lord's Prayer, I wrote it in English and also in Potawatomi, and gave it to my home church up there in Michigan. And after that, I got a request for a couple more of them. So we are on the land of the Pueblo people, kind of in between Sandia and the Isla of Pueblo. And we're right here, and I think we must be on the border. But I don't recognize these lands here, that the people here. And I guess you could say I'd like to recognize the land of Albuquerque, who is home to some over 127 different tribes who now call Albuquerque home. I'm one of them. So with that, we'll start our meeting. Who's up?
Good evening. Well, doing a little bit of recognizing of Women's History Month. In the last hour, as we sit here, a woman of New Mexico, a Native woman, made history, becoming the first cabinet member in the United States. So Deb Holland, that just went through. So certainly prayers that what she does with the land and its natural resources will go to a more native cosmovision. I think that will be a lot more healing for it, for sure. Another thing that I want to talk about is the Haudenosaunee, which the French named the Iroquois. But long ago, in the days of Ben Franklin, as the colonists were arguing and trying to figure out how to make this new American project, a native came up to them and said, you know, you guys, you got to learn how to get along. Why don't you adopt our Great League of Peace idea from the Haudenosaunee? And he showed it to Ben Franklin. Ben thought it was great. So that's what they used a lot to make the Albany plan. But one huge part of the Great League of Peace was that they had a lot of the women of the tribes choosing all the male leaders and overseeing, listening, you know, taking all the notes, making sure everything was remembered correctly. So obviously most of the males of Ben Franklin's day thought that was right out and not acceptable. But man, I wonder what America would be like today if we would have taken the whole Great League of Peace idea and given equal, honorable, high, important roles to males and females. Wow. So here we go with Deb Holland and others, hopefully tipping the scales in a good direction, one of compassion and community building. Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right. Turning it over to Heather Jim.
Hello. So I'm here with the Elohim, reading from Randy Woodley's Lit series. This one's called The Limits of Industrialized Progress for March 15th. Pretty interesting. Settler colonialism completely disrupted natural food cycles, equal to or greater than the most drastic poverty suffered by indigenous Americans by natural disaster. Indigenous Americans, North American Native society would never be the same. The European invasion and westward migration was mass often described by words such as progress, civilization, and later modernity. The Western goal of progress for Aboriginals throughout the centuries was to achieve civilization through assimilation in its most modern forms. Ironically, advanced civilizations had already existed among the first Americans, having been developed endless systems of science, language, rhetoric, mathematics, medicine, environmental ecologies, architecture, economic systems, etc. But indigenous civilization was not recognized by most Europeans as such. When teaching these things, my students, co-learners, always ask why they have never been taught about the great Native American civilizations or their contributions to the world. My answer is always the same. You weren't supposed to find out. So very interesting words by Randy. And yeah, it proves for food for thought. I'm glad that he writes what he writes. It's very different than what I'm used to hearing. So take it away, Grover.
All right. So we got a couple songs here. We're going to open up with River of Life, and then we'll go right into Create in Me. So let me share the lyrics in case you want to sing along.
Hi, who did you read? Who did Heather read? Or
Oh,
That was-
maybe someone would put in the chat.
that's
Let's
my
see.
classmate Chastity. Hi. Heather Jim just read from Randy Woodley, and if you go to eloheh.org, ELOHEH.org, and scroll down just a tiny bit, they have a whole Lenten devotional, and it's from the Native American perspective. And Randy Woodley and Eloheh have a great group out there.
Okay. There's a river of life that's flowing from his throne. A river of life that's flowing from his throne. Won't you come on in and see? This river will set you free. Way. There's a river of life that's flowing from his throne. A river of life that's flowing from his throne. Won't you come on in and see? This river will set you free. Way. A wee oh hey, a wee oh hey, a wee oh hey, oh hey, I oh, a wee oh hey, oh hey, a wee oh hey, oh hey, oh hey, hi oh, hi oh, hi oh, hi oh. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Let me be like you in all my ways. then we shall be born again to be blessed in your love. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Let me be like you in all my ways. Give me your strength. Teach me your song. Shelter me in the shadow of your wings. For we are your righteousness. If we've died to ourselves and lived through your death, then we shall be born again to be blessed in your love. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Let me be like you in all my ways. Give me your strength. Teach me your song. Shelter me in the shadow of your wings. For we are your righteousness. If we've died to ourselves and lived through your death, then we shall be born again to be blessed in your love.
I think it's your announcements of the Passover items.
Oh, okay.
Remembrance.
All right. So, and how far away is that?
Just a couple weeks, right at the end of the month, is our native Passover.
Okay, yeah. So we've done a native Passover for a couple years now. Basically, we take the form of the Jewish Passover festival, which is recorded in the book of Exodus, and was kind of a pivotal moment in the history of the Jewish people. But it's basically a festival of remembrance, and a festival of coming out of bondage, and a festival looking towards hope. So we take that idea and we've put it into a native framework. So we don't do the Jewish remembrances. So it's not about the story of Moses and the Exodus, but we take historical moments from native history that have the same sort of resonance as the stories in the book of Exodus, and we have a native Passover, so a native remembrance ceremony. So we're going to do it again virtually this year. So we would love everyone to be able to participate in that. So there's some items that you'll need to fully take part in everything that we're going to be doing. So if you want to be part of it, the things that you'll need is some smudging herbs, for sure, sage and cedar. And then we only do 3 smudges. A lot of times for native stuff, there's 4 smudges that include sweetgrass and tobacco. But we really only do 3 as part of the ceremony. So sage and cedar for sure, and then either sweetgrass or tobacco, whatever your preference is.
And you just need just a little tablespoon of each,
Yeah. You don't need a ton of it. And if you can't find those items, it'd be best if you can find those. But if you can find, if you have other herbs available to you to smudge with, that you prayerfully feel fit with the idea, you're welcome to use those. But if you can get sage, cedar, and then either sweetgrass or tobacco, that would be the best way to do it. And then you'll also need some cornmeal or corn pollen if you can get it. Corn pollen is the most appropriate thing, but sometimes that's hard to come by, especially a ceremonially proper corn pollen. So if you can't get corn pollen, you can use cornmeal, and then you'll need some ceremonial water. So just a basin of water that we'll be doing a few things with. About how much do they need altogether?
Like a gallon.
Yeah, a gallon is plenty. You may not even need that much, but you want to like pray over the water and prepare it for ceremony. You should do that in a way that makes sense to you and is meaningful to you, and should involve prayer. You can smudge the water. So, light a smudge and blow the smoke over the water as you're praying for the water, to set it aside for the ceremonial purpose. If you have other ways in which you like to set aside things in a prayerful way to make them part of a ceremony, you're welcome to do that as well. But have some ceremonial water that you prepare appropriately. Then blue mush with juniper ash is what you'll need. So blue mush is basically it's grain cereal kind of things that's made from blue cornmeal. And for the ceremonial part of it, it should also have juniper ash in it, which is a traditional way to prepare it. Casey actually found a video of some Navajo folks preparing blue mush with juniper ash, and we've posted that video to the Good Medicine Way page. I believe the video is all in Navajo, so you may want to see if you can find some instructions in your language of preference if you don't speak Navajo. But they show like everything that they're doing in the video, how to properly burn the juniper and collect the ashes and sift them and all that kind of stuff. And then how much to mix in with the cornmeal and how to make the blue mush. But that's going to be part of the ceremony, is having the blue mush that we'll be partaking of in eating from time to time. And then also for our ceremonial bread, we're going to use fry bread. For it, you will need 4 pieces altogether, I think, right? So yeah, so 4 pieces. There is a recipe and on the Facebook site, if you scroll back through our timeline, there was a recipe that we posted at one point about fry bread, but fry bread recipes are pretty easy to find, and it is pretty straightforward to make. If that seems like beyond what you want to do, you can just use some other kind of bread. But again, like with the water,
Tortillas or something.
yeah, tortilla, or even if you just want some other kind of bread, yeah, tortillas are a really good replacement, and they're easy to get. And again, we're like setting aside these items for a ceremonial purpose, so you want to prepare them in that way when you do it. Then you also need some bitter herbs. We use green chili for that purpose since we're in New Mexico. If you can't get green chili, you just need some kind of bitter herb. It is one that you will have to eat some. So, I wouldn't get like habanero peppers because that might be a little bit too extreme. But get something that for the ceremony, it needs to remind you of some kind of pain and suffering. So it should be spicy enough that it can bring that to mind, but you don't want to make it so much that you're not going to be able to do the rest of the ceremony. The Jewish people use horseradish, and they cut the horseradish. Some people use straight up pure horseradish. Some people use like kind of a horseradish and mayonnaise mixture, so it's not quite so intense. So same kind of idea for the bitter herbs. We'll be using green chili. And then you want some kind of meal. A meal is also part of it. And ideally, the meal should include lamb. So if you want to make some mutton stew, that's a great way to do it. If you want to like roast a leg of lamb, you can do that. That's great too, because it's nice to have a lamb shank bone as part of your accoutrements for the native Passover. The shank bone isn't specifically used in the ceremony, but it is present, so that we know that the representation of a lamb in the meal. So the shank bone is present on the Passover plate with all the other items on it. So that's what you need if you want to take part in the native Passover in a couple weeks. We really encourage you. Once again, just running down things really quick. Need some smudging items: cedar, sage, and either sweetgrass or tobacco. Cornmeal or corn pollen. Some ceremonial water. Blue mush with juniper ash. Some fry bread, some green chili, and some lamb. And if you have any questions about that, you can post questions about it on the Facebook page.
We should try to put it on the Facebook.
And we'll put a announcement about it on the Facebook page as we get a little bit closer to Passover. But yeah, you can contact us through Facebook if you have any questions about how you want to, what you can do, or if you need some options. We can help you figure out something that's appropriate. And let me go back to gallery view here so we can see everybody. And
I think John is going to read the creator's words now.
Oh, someone wants to all meet at our house to prepare things together. Yeah, if we got the pandemic under control enough, we would certainly
next week.
love to be. We would love to be able to get together, but we want to be safe and wise in our celebrations too. But yeah, if we can do that, we could have a big fry bread making party to make enough for everybody and all that kind of stuff, and help people get everything together. All right, and so next we go to the Witherows for the reading of Creator's Word.
So we are in Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 14, reading out of the First Nations version. Seeing others clearly. If you do not want to be judged, then do not judge others. For the way you judge others will come back to you full circle. Think of it this way. How can you see the speck of wood in someone else's eye when you can't see a log in your own eye? How can you say, "Here, let me help you," when you can't see that you need even more help? Stop pretending to be something that you are not. If you will be honest about yourself, you will then see clearly enough to help others. Wisdom for sacred things. Take care not to give what is sacred to the ones who will turn on you and treat you with disrespect. For who would toss an eagle feather into the dirt to be trampled on? Keep dancing your prayers. Let your prayers rise like smoke to the Great Spirit, for he will see and answer you. Every step is a prayer, and as you dance upon the earth for the things you seek, the way will open before you. In the same way, as you search for the true ancient pathways, you will find them. Answers will come to the ones who ask. Good things will be found by the ones who search for them, and the way will open before the ones who keep dancing their prayers. Creator sets free Jesus, took a loaf of bread and a fish from a basket. He lifted the bread up high for all to see. What father, if his son wanted bread, would give him a stone to eat? Then he lifted the fish up high. If he asked for a fish, would he give him a snake? If fathers with bad hearts know how to give good gifts to their children, then how much more will the Creator, who is your loving Father from above, give good gifts to the ones who ask? The meanings of my teachings. Here is the meaning of what I have been saying. Whatever good thing you want others to do for you is what you should do for them. This is the whole purpose of the instructions given by, drawn from the water, Moses. and the words spoken by the prophets. The small gate and narrow way. To walk Creator's good road, you must enter this small gate and walk a narrow path that leads to the good life. Only a few find and walk this road, but the gate is large and the path is wide that leads to a bad end. Many walk this road. Creator's words.
All right. And that brings us to Preston, who is going to share some insights from that scripture. And we'll let Preston do his own protocol and introduction.
Wasn't there anyone that's supposed to do prayer?
For prayer. Yeah, you want to have Brian? You want to?
No, it's fine.
Okay. I think we forgot to.
That she President Johnson siya touching the touching Basichin the chin is a che Ashin Dashanel. Shema Benish Jones will get though she Jones will get. As you know, and as a Navajo, we can go on and on and on forever on that. I just introduced my self and my clans, and if there's a mistake in there, and I have not heard anyone tell me what the mistake is. So, and my mom, I just introduced my mom, her name, my dad and his name. So someday I'm gonna introduce them to you personally, because there's a long history of how my parents met together and everything, and I like to call myself a legacy, and Heather likes to laugh about that sometimes. When I first read this and saw this, I knew God was calling me to read this, and it was about a month ago, but after that, it's just been very hard on my heart to figure out how to put the words into sentences. Because as a performing artist, and my main my main focus is musical theater, but I also love to dance. But you think I'm dancing, powwow dancing, but no, or my traditional dances, but no, I love Westernized dancing. I love ballet, I love modern. It just makes me understand how a body should work. Dancing and swimming are really do go in hand in hand. You have to know, understand your body's flexibility and its strength and everything in between. You have to understand your endurance, how far you can push your body to. And most of all, you have to know how to relax and hear and listen to your bodies when you are struggling with the smallest things. And those are times when I figured out that when you are relaxed and learn how to relax in those moments, either swimming or dancing or any type of athletics that you do, you can have that conversation with God one-on-one. It's so powerful during those times. And sometimes life catches us by surprise, or we get thrown off the deep end. Sometimes we become in a moment of pain or a state of fight or flight, or panic, because it takes a moment for us to remember where we are at in those times when we get thrown in the deep end, or when there's a thing that comes in crashing into our lives. We have to be able to breathe and relax and find God in those times. And when we do, we can listen to our heart and hear the heartbeat. When we can finally relax, because remember, not only does we have those moments of deep ends, in 7 chapters ahead, there's a guy that goes by the name of Peter that has a similar experience where he is having a moment with Christ, and then all of a sudden he is drowning. We have those moments in our lives where we feel like we are drowning, but all we just need to do is just reach up and Christ is there. And I always feel like that Peter himself was in a moment of dancing, because if you ever not have danced or been in dancing, because later on it'll talk about how the winds were so warring, and so I think he was about to make him dance into the waves and be able to have him have a personal connection with Christ, because God and Christ can be able to have those moments that are inexplainable. So one of my favorite things that Casey says is our instruments, a drum is a drum until it's, or any instrument is an instrument until it's used by the person, or how the person is worshiping with that. And that includes my own personal body, because I clean as an instrument. Yes, my body is an instrument. If you ever listen to an opera singer, they will tell you their body vibrates and moves with them, and it goes in different directions. It has energy that makes you understand Christ a lot better. And that's what I love about being able to do musical theater and everything. You have to understand, learn voice and movement. Voice and movement teaches you how to dictation and be able to understand ionic pentameter. If you don't know ionic pentameter, it's one of the things that Shakespeare used in his ways of writing. And then that's the biggest thing is called a heartbeat. That makes it ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. And trichocetic pattern is what we hear the witches hoil and trouble. And those are the things when we be able to hear in our voices too, because when we do ionic pentameter, it makes us feel so connected and feel sympathetic easier. But when we hear tetraic, it makes us feel scared and be able to have that panic that something bad's going to happen. That's why the witches and everyone that was bad in Shakespeare's plays had to understand how to talk. For me, when I was young, I had to learn all this at a young age before I went to college, because I had a really, really bad stuttering problem to the point where where my mind was racing so fast, so quick. And I wanted to tell everyone what was going on in my mind, but no one understood. And because of my mind was racing so quick, I forget what I want to say from one thing to the next. It makes me understand what I was trying to tell the story and what story I was trying to say. But I would love that because it brings myself down and relaxes me. Ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. You know what? On that also, when I first started going into it, I was like, that's like the drum. The drum makes me understand that. And when we go to a powwow drum, it relaxes all of us. It calms us down. And that's what we have to learn from these different classes, how to calm our body down, to feel the moment, to have our conversations be brought across to everyone. So that's why we learn when we're singing our voices, we warm up so that we can be ready. Or when we are warming up for a dancing class. When you're at the bar, that's calming your body and relaxing every muscle. And relaxing to the moments to remember 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we can go into pas de bourrée, then be able to move and be able to relax. Those movements are very in potential, and each movement was written for something, which we learn as dancers. And I love each thing. And then how they tell the story. There's dancing in ballet that where ballet was easily can transfer to fencing. And fencing can be able to, where you're turning out your feet to make it understand that you are coming and pointing and allowing yourself to understand every point of your body has to be flexing or moving in different ways. And it's funny, I did not learn how to position my body. I didn't put my hips over my heels, and my shoulders over my hips, and my jaw hinge over my shoulder until I learned that from voice movement. These are some really great intentional tools for me to understand and remember, relax, and go into and hold myself up. Because in a typical dance class, when you're at the bar and relaxing and being able to go into this, because the next thing you're going to be doing is line work. Line work is where we have staggered lines and people trying to look at the different, see themselves in the mirror so that they can be able to do everything at once. So all of our hands can be moving together. All of our faces will be coming together at once. But if you were in the actual performance, it'll be straight line, not a diagonal. So if you're in a performing stage, it's going to be diagonal lines so everyone can see themselves. Then when we get to, it'll be marching status, and that leads to my, and makes me so happy because then leads to marching band too. Being able to have everyone make a forward march and then making everyone be intimidating the audience for different things. And that's what dancing is all about, intimidation and or bringing some type of emotion, bad and good, to you so that you can feel those sadness. And when we finally go on the floor or routines, we finally start working on routines like that thing that in flamenco is like, but in my head, I'm thinking today, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, because I love flamenco. Then it just makes me understand, go play, then hit the floor hard. And for this last beat, I did not get into that relaxation of myself until recently. And that relaxation is such essential for every dancer and everything. And being able to be in the moment is so great. We are always having to understand dancing because dancing takes a full body effort of, that's why when I was in going to school for it, then we took Pilates or yoga. Pilates is more about strengthening the muscle, making sure everything is soft and being able to. So when you go back in weightlifting, it makes you more stronger so that you can be able to feel like, I just did this 20 pounds yesterday and now I'm weak again. That's what Pilates does. And it makes you stronger and more resistant, makes the resistant harder. But yoga makes you relax to the point where you can breathe into the muscle so that you can understand how your blood is flowing. When I am warming up, when I get to the state of relaxation, I can feel the pulsating of my blood all the way through to the tips of my fingertips. I can feel how much God has been able to put those things in my life. And I love science. And another part of me is I love to listen to the body, and I'm a nutritionist. So we had to do take anatomy and physiology. That helped me understand the body, being like, I'm moving my scapula and I'm trying to get my spinal erectus muscle to be as straight as possible, but keep it relaxed without having to strain it, because I don't want to pull it. You're telling yourself these things during rehearsal so that you don't have to tell yourself during the performance, so that you can be able to enjoy this moment. Because when I am in a dance, I can be like, okay, God, here comes our favorite part, and leap and land and turn and fall. That was awesome, God. Let's do it again. Those are moments when we have with God. And remember, David worshiped and rejoiced with dancing. We are allowed to relax. But the truth was, I had a hard time doing that when I was back in college, because I had no trust. No one believed that I not only wanted or needed to be a nutritionist, but also performing artist, because they go really hand in hand. And I really wanted to have an opportunity to teach that to everyone, how nutrition, what goes in, makes you stronger and more capable, and understanding how it works throughout your body. So my mind was always racing and thinking and being 2 steps ahead and being like, you're gonna fail. That's why everything in my mind hurt and caused me to stress out so badly. And I did fail. I psyched myself out until the point where I knew what I needed was to relax. I needed to Sabbath with Jesus. I learned that my dancing started to become corrupt because I forgot what each movement was for God. I forgot how to relax into the heart. And sometimes when I'm so tensed up, I cannot feel the blood. I can't feel the pulsating in my fingertips anymore. When I get that point again, and now, I just have to sit down and relax. The only time when I know is when I have to tell myself, do not be afraid. Do not be scared. Do not be nervous. Do not follow the fear of nerves. Because if you do, you'll lose your status and you'll lose your beat. And that beat really is important for me to reach out to everyone. There's a moment, and like Shakespeare says, everyone has their entrances, everyone has their exits. Sometimes we miss those entrances for to meet in someone's life. But if you're listening to God and listening to our movements and feeling God moving through our pulsating and being able to relax, we can feel that. And I got to meet that, and I got to see myself after relaxing, after reevaluating myself. Because from cake and coming back home and understanding the reason why my dancing was so corrupted and falling apart is because I forgot what love means. When I went there, I remember then this always helps me understand what dancing is. Dancing is like, it's kind and patient. You cannot be more patient than with yourself. If you want to do something, if you, like I said, if you want to bust a move, you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to teach yourself. You're going to have to teach your body. You're going to have to stretch those moments. It's going to take time, but yes, God's there with you. And he says, you are doing it correctly. That's how our body works with dancing. And that's how your body can work. Every movement you're doing, everything can be relaxed. Work can be so stressful and so intense, and it feels like everything is coming around and you just wanna, but just relax. Go back to your heartbeat. Go back to your pulse. And breathe with the Lord. Because remember, he can comfort us like a good mother, like a mother does. He can bring comfort. And when you allow that comfort to happen in your heart and in your full self, you are able to hear God and be able to have a conversation and understand you're okay, you're doing great. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, tell us where your interest in dancing got its start.
Actually, I like to call myself a satellite kid, like being able to live on a reservation, having satellite. I was introduced into it from my family, well, actually my teachers, and I was able to watch PBS from like ballet. And there's another channel called Ovation, and it has a different, they always showed the Nutcracker during Christmas time, and they showed so many different musicals, and I was like, I want to do that. That looks so much fun.
Mhm. Anyone else have comment or question for him?
When you were talking about like before dancing and how you go to the warm-up bar and like you really use that time to kind of center yourself and quiet yourself, and that reminded me a lot of Psalm 46, where it says, be still my soul and know that he is the Lord. And how you were talking about like dance being an expression of emotion, that it's the dance like brings out emotion not only in the dancer but in those that are seeing the dance. And I know you've done some performance dancing, and that you've also done dances that were more specifically as prayers for different conferences and events. And I assume that there are some times that you just dance with yourself before the Lord, kind of as your own personal prayer. So I'm just wondering, like, do you approach those different sorts of dances differently? Or is there things that are the same in it, and just kind of like, some details on that?
Yes, I actually do approach them differently, but when it comes down for it, sometimes you do have to take those approach to say if you this is a dance for a fight, or if this is like crumping or hip hopping, sometimes that can be a little bit more angry, but then you have to find that anger, where remember what you're fighting for and use that, but remember to use and fight for it righteously. But if you're also doing what we call pas de deux, so if a person, a male and a female in ballet, that's pas de deux, or a translation, two souls in one. So you have to be able to bring those two souls and being able to show a very beautiful showcase of lifting this person up and being able to have that showcase. You go into those moments differently, because one has to be stronger, one has to be more masculine and feminine to the point, and after that, but you have to lead it back to God.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. And then there's a couple comments here in the chat. Karen really identified with what you said because she dances herself, and she thought you really expressed what goes on in the soul of the dancer well. And then she also talked about kind of what you were just talking about having to be in tune with your partner who's in the dance, and to really kind of be working together as one. So yeah, that's what Karen said, and there's some other details in there you can look at. And then Kimberly Medicine Horn said that she was listening to a lecture by Dr. Yellowbird, and that he was talking about dancing to decolonize the brain and decolonize your mind through dancing. And she was saying that you're sharing about what dancing means to you and how you approach it really helped her to understand what Dr. Yellowbird was going after there. So I don't know if you have any other comments to add to those. Do we get anything over there?
Mo'opunokane. I think, do you know what that means? Mo'opunokane?
Was that
From Hawaiian, from Miriam?
Yeah, Miriam wrote something in Hawaiian. But I don't know.
Rock on, my son. I don't know.
Any other things there in that?
That's all.
Okay.
Well, dancing is something that's very, very positive in the Native culture. And Laura and I were able to bring all of our kids up to be dancers, to understand the traditions and what behind each dance, so much so that any one of my kids are able to give a presentation about their dance and what it means to them. And they have never had a problem. And many people do think that, especially, if you're a Southern Baptist, you're not supposed to dance. And then there's people like that say that, well, Native dancing, in the spirit dancing is fine, but your Native dancing isn't. I question that, because that's a colonized way of thinking, that only your way can be a good way. God made all of us, and it made us all with different kinds of dances, and we can glorify our God, our Creator, through our own personal ways of dancing, even if it's what's the saying? Dance like nobody's watching except God. It's fun. Jonathan Miracle has taken myself and others on trips to where we would dance in different cities and countries. And other countries are very, they're very, what do you say, romanticized about Native American people. So when we go there and dance, it's very, they learn a lot, but then they also learn that that Native person that's dancing with those eagle feathers and that is also a pastor. And sometimes that floors them, that how can that be? I thought you were a traditional person. some people will say. And then on the other end of it, some people will say, well, I thought you were a Christian. How comes you're dancing with your eagle feathers? So there's a lot of those comments on both sides of the talk, and we always have to sometimes be ready to talk about them. And Preston, you just really brought out a unique way of how you interpret your way of dancing and what it means to you. I appreciate that. Anyone else?
Karen Hooft, how do you say that?
Heft, I think.
Heft. Hopefully I'm getting that right, Karen. She also put in the chat that, a few weeks back, we showed the video of you dancing, and she says now hearing you talk about how you approach dancing like really gives a lot more meaning to what she saw you dancing a few weeks ago. So that's cool. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? I don't see anything else in either chats right now. So
I guess one last thing off the topic here is that Kimberly Medicine Horn and myself this past week went through a grueling time of interviewing and evaluation, and good results. The the commission has to go through one more step, and then in June, it looks like we're going to be crowned as a theological school. And so that coming in June, we'll have a big celebration, and I hope that I hope that we can get together and celebrate, because we all cheered. I forget, there was like 20, 26 or 27 of us on the face, on the Zoom meeting. And then when the evaluators left, it's like it was a roar. Every image on the thing was like this and this and clapping and cheering. It's like, it was so overwhelming. It's like, oh, just how it could have been if we were together. We would have screamed and hollered, and we would have danced, and we wouldn't have had no music, and we would have been dancing just because it's been so many years. I've been with Nate's for almost 18 years now.
Wow.
And they started, I think they're 20 years old now. And so it's been a long journey. And I just want to let you know that, something to celebrate. So Kimberly and I will be leading the charge here in a whole new way of presenting it as an officially being a theological seminary, just like all the others. So we're really excited about that. You have something to say about that, Kimberly? See you smiling there.
Geez, I think I was crying the whole time I was listening to the recommendations from the committee.
Yes.
And just incredible. I know all of us were praying for God's favor, and we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. But the thing that I thought about the most was when everybody, the original founders, had this vision. I don't know if they could have envisioned this day coming. Maybe there were hopes or far off dreams, but to actually see it come into fruition and the places we can go from there, boy, who knows what's going to happen, but it's very exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful and grateful to be a part of this learning community.
It is a very unique community made up with so many different people, denominations, tribes, tongues, and we're reaching around the world with it too. This will be a theological school who doesn't have a central building. I believe we do have one office that has been given to us to use in Tyndale in Toronto, but I know Terry lives in Nova Scotia, so he out that way, so it's hard to him to get there. But we will be doing many things in the future here. They're going to take on new shapes and new directions, and I can't wait to see the graduates are going to finally get a diploma that says NATES, an Indigenous Learning Community. So with that, thank you, Preston, for your words and sharing with us tonight. I really want to encourage the young people to speak on this program too, because when I was growing up, I felt that I wanted to go into ministry, but the pastors in our area never gave young people a chance to speak in the services. It was pretty heavy-handed because they got a lot of ownership to their pulpits, and you got to speak, and sometimes you got to be interviewed so they know what you're going to be speaking on. So they want to make sure your theology is all squared. So that's good, but it's too critical. And young people can come on a venue like this here, or even when we do meet together, and there's a lot of grace. So it's a time of learning. I believe when you voice what you believe in, you learn it more. And I think it's when you talk about it, it just seeps deeper into yourself, and that what you believe becomes more a part of you when you're able to articulate it in words, and also in words on paper as well. So I want to send us off now, unless someone else has something to say. Namar, go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Yes. Just praise God, praise Creator for this, and thank you, Preston. It's an honor, and thank all of you for being with us for this. And I just want to say that I'm very excited for NATES, and I really hope to go back into PhD studies, because as some of you might remember, I was in PhD studies through NATES before, but the program had disbanded because there was a new dean, new administration that had broke off its agreement and its partnership with NATES. So I really intended to go back into it only through NATES. And so now that this is happening, I really hope to do so. And as some of you might have recognized by now, is that, my area of focus in my research is with Black Indians, Afro-Native Americans. So I really want to bring that kind of unique perspective and study to this learning community. So that's what I intend to do. And I'm very grateful that you all have allowed me to share some of that with you when I've been the guest speaker here. And I just want to keep that going. I'm still researching and still learning more. Like, I just learned about another Afro-Cherokee country blues, gospel blues musician who helped pave the way for contextualizing music that the church had previously called the devil's music, but then contextualizing that into gospel music now. Name is Reverend Robert Wilkins. So that's just something that I want to keep going, and you all inspire me to do it. So I'm very grateful.
All right. Well, Kimberly and I are faculty, and I'm sure we could put in a word for you and get you into the NATES PhD program. For sure.
Yes, that'd be wonderful. Thank you, Pops. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kimberly.
We're pulling for you, and we need everyone in there. So
Yes.
let's close in prayer, and let's go on to our days, the rest of our evenings here. Give it over to God this week. And I always used to say in some of my classes there, when I would end, I'd say, my students just say, all right, now with everything you learned here, go out and change the world. So that's what we're all about. So,
All right. We actually do have a closing song before we
great.
do the prayer. And this is a song that Preston specifically requested. So I want to make sure we do
Okay,
it.
all right.
And It's all right. So this is a song "Fly" by Guy Peters that Preston and Heather brought to our community. So we're really happy to do it with them, and I believe Preston has danced to this song in the past. So I'm sure he'll be dancing in his mind, if not in his body. But so let me put the lyrics up here, and we'll get going. Child of the King, we are one tribe, we are the remnant, born of the Word, Spirit and fire, we are warriors. Breath of life fills me, brings the rain, brings the fire. Wind of life takes me, bring the change, lift me higher, and we'll fly with you. Lord, be our wings, we'll fly with you. Up where the eagles sing, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear Yahweh. And with the eagles sing, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear Yahweh. Lord of the earth, bring the rain, bring the harvest. As the season has come to raise the pie to your honor. Word of life, we praise you, we bless your name, for it is holy. From the hills, Yahweh, we will sing, return to glory, and we'll fly with you. Lord, be our wings, we'll fly with you. Up where the eagles sing, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear Yahweh. And with the eagles sing, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear Yahweh. Holy is the Lamb, and the King of Kings. Holy is the Lamb, and the King of Kings. And the King of Kings, now with the eagles sing, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear, way I hear Yahweh.
right. Now closing prayer.
Yes.
Okay. I jumped the gun there. So thank you for that song too. Thanks again, once again, Preston. Let's bow. Father, we thank you for this time together tonight. Thank you for encouraging young people like this to share their faith, share their life with us so that we know a little bit more of who they are. And we can love them even more. Thank you for the courage that he has to get up and share his life with us and his faith in Jesus. Father, be with us this week as we continue to stay safe from COVID. Protect us from that evil. Get us through the next week and bring us again together next week. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, everyone.
All right. See
Thank
ya.
Night. Love you. Good to see you.
you.